Hello Flight Simmers, Weeper here, and welcome back to the channel. I just want to apologize for the lack of videos these past few months, as I encountered a serious problem with my computer, and it took that time to sort out. I could probably do a 2-hour video on what happened and what I did to resolve the issue, but to give you the Reader's Digest version, I went to fire up my simulator one day, and for whatever reason, NVIDIA Surround was disabled, and I could not re-enable it for the life of me. It turns out my computer would only recognize my projectors at an extreme high 4K resolution rather than the native resolution of 1920 by 1080. I had went through different video cards, different motherboards, BIOS updates, Windows updates, Windows rollback, fresh installation of Windows, complete hard drive wipes, countless emails and phone calls with tech support with both NVIDIA and Optoma, different drivers from NVIDIA. They even sent me specific drivers. I sent my projectors to California for 2 weeks, and nobody could figure out what was going on, and it was extremely frustrating because I could not sort this out. It turns out a buddy of mine found a little app on the internet called CRU, or Custom Resolution Utility, and it allowed me to redefine the resolutions that would be recognized by my computer for the projectors. So once I redefined those resolutions, it started working and everything was fine. In that time, I had my simulator spaced away from the screen, and I had all this downtime, so I said, well, there's no better time to work on some updates. When I finished my cockpit last summer and started flying it, I started making a list of little changes I wanted to do, or things I should have done differently, or still pieces I had lying around that still needed to be added in. So as much of a pain in the butt that was, I got everything all completed now, and in the end, I ending up with a better simulator than when I started. So without further ado, let's have a look at what we did and check it out.
Right time. Okay, knock it off.
Okay, starting with the cockpit, the keyboard tray, I had powder coated this black, put a rubber liner on the bottom, so that's all set up nice. Down in here, if you remember from part 1, I had a USB hub and extension cable and a whole bunch of just crappy wire line down here. So I ended up doing something I really like here. I ended up, my jet seat power, I put into a military connector and put a little USB connections up here, so that really cleans up the back. Put some labels on all these, just kind of make it look a little bit more professional and complete. For the ACES ejection seat, I ended up adding a Perseus logo on the headrest. Just thought that was a nice little finishing touch. I changed the parachute box for a modern style with the pop-up pivots. So I'm proud to say I joined the pop-up club. This one is much better shape, all complete, as it has the parachute packing, embroidery here, the card. You can just see it's in great shape, fantastic shape. When I bought it, it actually had the parachute and cords and all that stuff inside. I just ripped all that out of there just to lighten it up. It actually reduces the weight quite a bit without that in there. I know I said I wouldn't do it, but the OCD in you got sick of looking at this looking all plain, so I added all these hydraulic lines and stuff. These are just 3D print connectors with some hydraulic cables and some decals I put on, and it's not exactly, I just use a couple reference photos just kind of make it look all right, but it's good enough for me. On this side, did the same thing. Again, just aesthetics, just makes it look more complete. For the right side, as you remember, I had indicated in the video that it was set up with a PX3 setup and not a PX2. Well, again, OCD got into me and I really wanted to fix it up. So I'm really happy with how this side looks. For one, it's more accurate to the PX2 for the Block 50s, and it just kind of populated it with a few more things. I think it just makes it look better. Starting off on the aux panels, you can see I added the liquid oxygen. So that was a bit of a pucker factor, as I had to drill the hole in the aux panel and I didn't want to remove it, so I kind of did it right there, and I'm quite happy with what I ended up with because it was all hand done, and it's a pretty precise holes that I put in there, and everything just fits beautifully. So I just love the way it looks. I ended up configuring the panels as per a PX2 layout. So the oxygen regulator was moved right underneath the anti-ice panel. The avionics panel was shifted down. I also added an ARP, I guess that's what I call it, AERP, which is air crew, eye, and respiratory protection. So it's basically a bracket that, my understanding is, it holds basically a filter system that's filtered through the oxygen mask. So in case of any biological attack or contamination, they use those. And from what I'm told, all the half jets are equipped with that. And tail number, I believe it was 69, and another one, I guess what I'm saying is, from what I'm told, there's only 2 Block 50s that have that ARP mount bracket inside, as it was a trial for the PX3s and 4s. So just another way to make my cockpit a little bit more unique. What else did I add here? I think lastly I added in the map light here. So this all works. The sim's not powered up, but it'll work with the battery switch. So a nice little addition. Again, it's all about just populating this right side area and kind of making it look good. For the left side, I did a few things. First thing I did was I added a roller switch underneath the canopy spider. So with 4.35, they added in the feature of a canopy switch and the roller switch, which activates the seals with the spider. So that was pretty easy to do. Found a cheap roller switch rather than the real ones they use. I think it was only about $30 thanks to another member, and it just works great. I added the G-suit connection hose, so that's already into the panel. So one of the last things I'm going to do for this is to get the G-suit working. What did they do here? I added a locking toggle switch that goes with this style of switch guard. Before I just had a non-locking switch. From all the reference photos I found, this needed to be a round head locking switch. I changed out the rotary switch in the Oxcom master switch, so now you have to pull it to, it's hard to do with this where I'm sitting here hanging on to the camera, but you basically have to pull it to turn to emergency or pull it to get it to off, which I can't really do right now because I'm stretching over the cockpit here. For the center pedal still and front end strip panel, I only did a few things here. First thing I did was I took out the old LCD screens and put in larger ones. So these ones fit the entire surface area inside the bezel, so they look more realistic and accurate. Also added these folding map lights. These are really cool. They're NVIS lights, and they turn off and on as you unfold or fold them back up. There's one on each side, left and right side. I added the SimTech VVI and AMI angle of attack indicator, as those were digital displays before. And then lastly, I finally completed my replica version of the ALR 93. So just makes the radar warning receiver bezel with the missile activity lights, makes it more accurate to the block. So that's it for the updates for 2021. Probably the next project I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be installing an analog version of the UHF panel. So I have all the components that I need to get that all wired up. So I'll be putting that in, getting rid of the digital one to make it more accurate to the block. And then I will probably starting on the G-suit panel so it works with the actual G-suit. So stay tuned, like and subscribe, and we see you on the next one.